Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Michigan here with another replay for you. And this is actually my second time recording this because initially I did not realize this was an advanced battle. I thought it was a random and I introduced it as such. And I noted a major issue, which is that nobody went to 2-line until I saw Bishop in the middle. And then I looked further and I realized then I thought it was a click-in. And then I realized it was an advance and now I'm starting it over. So Shadow is playing in the VZ55 in an advanced game against Fox S here on Lakeville. Now Shadow is going with a good chunk of the team down into the city, and it looks like a good portion of the team is up there in the middle, which is something I've been seeing a lot of recently on Lakeville. You get a lot of shots across on the kilo line, and it looks like their team is taking quite a bit of damage off the enemy team, now up 1,200 hit points, knocking an E3, 2 E3s down quite a bit there. Now, why is the VZ a good option for advancing? Most of that comes down to trading. The VZ does struggle when it's getting pushed, but it's great when it's pushing. When you are pushing, you get to take your 2 shots off and then get into cover. When you're getting pushed, a lot of the times you don't have that luxury of being able to pick your spots, mainly because you're going backwards and the enemy team is circling around you. And your lack of hit points doesn't help you there either. Shadow Warrior here is running not the Spall Liner, the one that gives you more hit points, improved armor. So he has gotten it from 2100 up to 2380. Now, here, some of the team has started to rotate it back to the 2-line. It looks like Ogre Wasabi is calling this. Great fire there from whoever that was. I call that the barbecue. 2,000... and almost 400, 2,167 there on that vehicle catching fire. Now this game is not going to pan out quite as well as Shadow Warrior's team is hoping here. They've already got a chieftain threatening the 2-line, and they're going to have to start pulling tanks back, but in doing so, that E3 is getting very exposed. Same with all the vehicles in the middle. All the enemies behind the church are now starting to shoot into that middle, and it's causing quite a bit of problems, or quite a few problems, for Shadow's team on the 4-line. They've lost their 3,000 hit point lead, and now are down hit points for the first time in this match. Shadow's looking for a shot there on the lower plate. That's a very unreliable vehicle to shoot, but this E3 shooting its side is presenting itself as a very nice target, and Shadow Warrior is going to bring his team back up 700 health. Unfortunately, somebody takes a hit, and they're pretty much back even. EBR in the back is on very low health. Great job by him by just staying back, sniping, and waiting for that late game. And we've kind of reached a little bit of a stalemate here. There's a little bit of a dogfight going down on the 2-line. But other than that, it's just mostly teams taking pot shots at whatever they can the middle road. You can see Noisy Cricket there taking some shots from something across the way. Unfortunately, tanks just keep appearing down on that 2-line. They have to keep pulling tanks back to reinforce it. It's now a 2v2 down there, but it looks like the enemies do have more hit points. While we cannot see what's going on there, it looks like the 907 is going around the backside. All that's left on Shadow Warrior's team from the middle is a Leopard. Everybody else is either rotated back or has been killed. It's quite a graveyard over there, actually. And Shadow's team is down by a vehicle as well. It looks like the EBR is rotating in to trying to help that Valley. The 907 appears to be knocking a good chunk of hit points off that E3, but the Chieftain does finish off their E3, meaning that E3 and Chieftain are now free to turn around to deal with that 907. Finally, a target presents itself to Shadow, quite patient, and he puts 1,000 damage into that enemy Chieftain, bringing him down to a 1-hit. Now, Shadow's team is up. This is an interesting situation. They're down 3 tanks, but they're up 3,000 hit points, which means they have the hit point advantage if they want to push, but the enemies have more guns. So, it's basically a stalemate in that regard, because they can't really push because they're low on hit points, and the enemies are going to clear out, or Shadow's team is going to clear out those one-shots, but if Shadow Warrior's team pushes, then the enemies have more guns to start taking them out and evening it up. All depends, and this is why hit point rotation is so important. More guns, the better. 2 one-shot tanks can easily take out one full health vehicle. Chieftain has now won that battle. The 907's making a run for it. Shadow's looking for a shot, but the Chieftain isn't quite getting it, but does decide to poke over. Shadow's going to risk the shot there. Not much to shoot at. The shell does connect, but it bounces off the very strong turret of the Chieftain there. Nice, though, that he got that Chieftain down to a 1-hit. A 2-shot for the 907, but a 1-shot for all the heavies on his team. Should be noted that the EBR did go down, so they're going to lose the reconnaissance aspect. And they are quite balled up here. Chieftain is still looking around that corner for the 907. Shadow's loaded, and he's anticipating that Chieftain coming around on Ed. Ed is looking for that Chieftain, but then he spots a version 5 down there as well. Takes a hit from that E3, and that is not a good spot for that 907. The 907 does finish off the E3. Fantastic shot there, not an easy one. And it looks like that version 5 is on much lower health than we thought. Initially, because he was out of Shadow's render range, it looked like he was on full health. And as he gets within Shadow's radio range, we now realize that Shadow's team is up almost 5,000 health, but they are still down 2 tanks. Not sure what the Chieftain's doing there. Shadow's going to finish him off. That Chieftain just had his gun barrel in the air. Maybe a connection issue. And now the 140 unfortunately finishes off the 907. Now Shadow's going to back up, attempting to cover that cap. They now have nothing spotting that base. Shadow knows where they're about to be sitting. Gambles it and actually kills the version 5, who when he went dark was not on the cap circle. I believe Shadow was probably thinking he was going to hit the Chieftain, but that was a fantastic shot there. Aiming in, you could tell he was thinking about it, but that was a great play there, using that shell, not reloading, taking the risk, and obviously it paid off there. Sturv on the low side. Shadow does have some cover, but instead he's going to try and help out the high side. Shooting through the pillars there. Nice work there. One through the sign and one that looked like he was aiming for the drive wheel, but just took the lower plate as well. Now this tank reloads quite quickly, 20 seconds, and since Shadow is on full health, 2400, he has some hit points to play around with, which is super important. Shadow's team is now down an additional tank, and they have lost a lot of their hit point advantage. They're only up 2300, and now they're down to 9 to 12. So the enemies have a 2-to-1 advantage in terms of guns now. And now it's even more, as it's 9 to 13. Luckily, though, these enemies look like they're not coordinating very well, and that means that Shadow's going to be able to pick them off. He does take a hit from the Chieftain, but definitely worth it. Instead of reloading, he's going to look through the building, kills the 140 in the side of the turret, who is looking to finish off the one-shot IS-7, the one-shot Chieftain in Zinro, and that's going to keep that very nice tier 10 heavy tank alive. Now Shadow's going to start looking back towards cap. Spots the 60. It looks like the Chieftain spotted the 60 TP, and now the Sturv is getting out of it. I believe that Sturv anticipated that Shadow was going to come around the side, and so therefore he backed out of there very quickly. Shadow's looking for a shot on the 60 TP. The 60 TP is pretty aware, and now he gets lit. He's in a very dangerous spot now. He could get crossfired by the Chieftain, the 60 TP, or the Sturv if he pokes out. Looking for a shot on that Sturv. 1 in the lower plate. 2 in the lower plate. Best place to shoot that Sturv, despite it only having 30 millimeters of armor. Often shells do ricochet, and Shadow is very lucky that he had APCR and not heat here. Heat would have had a lot more difficulty going through there, especially if he missed. 60 TP is now firing HE. He was probably had a shot loaded in case that Chieftain poked out, but with the Sturv exiting, he was no longer able to light that vehicle. 60 DP is in great cover. Shadow's just going to ignore him for the time being. However, the 60 DP decides to poke out. Shadow's going to gamble it. Just take a shot in the dark. And now he's got 1 tank left. His teammate Zinro and the Chieftain is going high side. Shadow will keep him lit. And Zinro is going to finish that off. Fantastic result there by Shadow Warrior. Let's get a screenshot here for the thumbnail. Fantastic result there, working together with that chieftain. I'm sure the rest of his team was giving a lot of great input as well, letting him know about the location and the hit points of the enemy vehicle. And that was a fantastic game there, especially being down 3 vehicles to the enemy's 7. Let's take a look at the post game. Shadow Warrior there finishing off top of his team with 6,052 damage. You can see there killing 6 enemy vehicles. He doesn't get a Top Gun though. And still making 23,000 credits, obviously with the battle payments booster. Losing almost 100k in ammunition. That's a lot of APCR, and this tank does go through it quickly. And 40,000 for those consumables for the repair kit and probably food he was running. He did make a healthy amount of XP, 2,174. This is great for crew training. So I hope you enjoyed this. And yes, VZ55 comeback win. Perfect title for this vehicle. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.